Good morning, I'm Jim Moore, and this is Justice for America. It's July 20th, very early in the morning, and this is episode number 54. Most of you will not be watching this live, so thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to go ahead and leave some comments. I will see those comments, even though we won't be able to interact live. And the reason we're coming early this morning is because we've got a little bit of traveling to do today, and we want to make sure that we get to our destination. So let's just jump right into it this morning. I want to cover some subjects this morning. Number one, are UFOs real? Number two is Jason Aldean and his new song, Try That in a Small Town. And then number three, what exactly has gone wrong? We're going to cover a lot of subjects, but those are some of the top ones. And if you are on Facebook, you saw the picture that I put on there. All right. So again, the way that we do this program is I give a number of links that you can follow up on. And so hopefully you will, when you're done watching this and listening to my commentary about the links, you'll go and look at those links. You probably only get about, 10% of what you need to get if you don't follow up on the links. I know that your time is precious, and so some of the links are a little bit longer, and I just encourage people, if you can't watch the whole thing, that's totally fine. Usually within the first 10 minutes or so, they cover the basics, and then they go deep. So depending on how much, and some of these are reading, where you can just read what is being said, and then others are videos. Some are very short and some are long. Hi, Aria. Nice to have you. Very nice to have you. All right, so let's jump right into it. Number one, the looming question of UFOs. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there on each of these subjects. I just picked one that I thought covered it pretty well. So there are a number of people talking about this. I think perhaps, I don't want to say most importantly, but importantly, the powers that be, okay, the governmental powers, good morning, are now saying, okay, there's this big push, let's get all of this stuff out in the open. And I will say this, and there's a bunch, I don't know about this. I don't want to speculate on what I don't know. That's not what I do. I try to look for facts, truth. We call that truth. John Adams, one of our former founders of our Constitution and President of the United States, said facts are stubborn things. So I don't want to be the person that denies facts like so many people are doing today. Here it is right in front of you. Here's the receipts. Here's the documents. Here's the video, whatever. And we're just going to ignore it because we don't like it. So that's not me. So try to bring the facts to you. Try to make it to where you can decide for yourself. So here's what I don't, or what I do know. What I do know is that there has been, I'm going to use the word, a conspiracy, okay? Again, I've said this many times. For those of you who might be watching this the first time, let's clarify what that is, okay? I know you think you know. Let me just clarify. A conspiracy is when people conspire, okay? Two or more people, if it's just one person, that's not really a conspiracy. A conspiracy is when more than two or more people come together they conspire together to do something. It may be good, it may be bad, okay? The word conspire is amoral, even though usually we use it in the context of something bad, okay? So they conspire. Now, a conspiracy theory is when it is unprovable. I have a theory. This might be happening. I have a theory that these 300 people are conspiring to do something, okay? The fact that it's a theory doesn't mean it's true or doesn't mean it's false. It means we don't know, right? Okay. So when you use that phrase, think about what you're saying. Don't let it become the whipping boy for whatever you don't like. Okay. Are you with me? All right. So I believe there's been a conspiracy to cover things up. Now, what those things are, that's the part I don't know. So some of you just want to know what it is our government has covered up. So do I. I don't believe in cover up. I believe that there are times that not revealing your hand, not showing your hand as you do in a card game, is important. Okay, if you're going to fight a battle overseas somewhere, or you're having a conflict, a war, whatever, in some place, and you're trying to be stealth about it, you want the element of surprise. Of course, you don't go on the internet and blast what you're going to do, like some of our foolish leadership has done in the not so distant past, in the recent past. Okay, so I know that there are times to do that, but that can become a system that you just do whenever you just, okay, we don't want you to know this, don't want. It becomes a method for the madness, as it were. It becomes something that is done time after time after time. So a lot of classifies us. So I believe we are about to see some things revealed. Now, how does that fit theologically? I'm a Bible guy. I'm a God guy. I'm a Jesus guy. How does that fit Bible? Well, I have always made the declaration and said my personal belief is that these are demonic powers. And I know some of you are going to think that's crazy, but I know that the Bible says that Satan himself can appear as an angel of light. I think one of the ways that the adversary could manifest himself to convince people that there is no such thing as God is to say, oh, look, there's aliens. If God were real, he would have said something about it, and blah, blah, blah. So let me just tell you what I think about that. I still hold to that. I still believe that probably these manifestations are evil in nature. I want to say I could be wrong. It would not be the first time that something remained unseen for a very long time. I will say this much, 100% for sure. There's a possibility that God would allow life to be, we're talking about billions and billions of planets in our universe. Come on, that's a reality. That's the truth. Billions of planets. The idea that God only put human or, creatures of his own. Heaven itself is full of creatures. Anybody that's ever gone there and come back to tell the story will say that. So whether he put some of those creatures, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's past his capacity to do that, of course. But I think, and I'm going to end right here, and there's only one link, you can look at it. Here's what I think. Lots of times people want to believe things. They want to believe the supernatural. They want to believe in Bigfoot, okay? And maybe Bigfoot will turn out to be real, but when you go decade after decade after decade and you have all these grainy false films and these footprints that somebody could have made themselves, and oh no, you just don't know all the facts. Okay, so eventually there has to be undeniable proof. Okay, now if there ever comes undeniable proof, and it turns out that these manifestations, because I believe they could be literally, if angels can walk among us unawares, and the scripture says so, then who's to say the demons cannot? All right. So my position on this, for those of you who want to know, is the jury's still out. I approach these things with a great deal of caution. I do believe, I don't put it above the government, the United States government, to try to use people's fears. We know something you don't know. They're using the weather to try to. And I know, again, this is a legitimate conspiracy. It's no longer a theory anymore because the people doing it have come out and said so. They want global surveillance. They want global control. This was predicted a couple thousand years ago, where the Apostle John on the Isle of Patmos had a vision. It was from God, so it wasn't just him thinking up cool stuff or bad stuff. He said there's going to be global government, there's going to be a global finances, and there's going to be a global religion. Those are no longer secret issues. Those are no longer things that you have to, wow, I wonder if this is really going to happen. No, it is happening. It is so far down the road. Okay, so the only way to have a global control system that manifests in those three ways, I think I might have said it wrong, but global governance, global economy, and global religion, okay, there has to be global control. In other words, 100% surveillance. I'm going to go into that in just a minute. Okay, but first, let's skip to the next thing. Jason Aldean. If you've been watching the news at all, you've heard a little bit. Jason Aldean. I'm not a country music guy, just so you know. Not a big country music fan. Not against it, just not my cup of tea. So I've never heard of Jason, but as has been happening recently, people with a platform, people with a public view, well-known people are coming out and saying, you know what, I don't care if I'm canceled, enough is enough. So not too long ago, we're talking, months ago, anytime anyone who had a very public platform spoke up against the narrative of mostly the media, okay, because they've set out this idea. Now you need to hear this really closely. They've set out this idea that the majority of people, the brilliance of media and the power of media is it can make you think, are you listening? This is what everybody thinks. So every TV show, what starts out as some vague thing that is unacceptable, they just keep pushing to where it's on every commercial and you know what I'm talking about, every radio, everything, every internet. And after a while, you get to think that this is the way everybody feels about this stuff. And they're pinging a primal desire / fear, even need of a human being, and that is to be accepted and to be loved and to be thought well of. We encounter this when, if you let me wax philosophical for a minute, when we go into grade school. The very first thing, we don't want to be mocked by other kids. Nobody wants to be made fun of. Mommy, don't dress me in the stupid clothes. I want to wear what other people. This need to be loved and to be thought well of, okay, is hardwired into us. So once the powers that be, I'm just isolating media here, there are others like religion and education and so on, government, convince you that this is the way everybody thinks and you're the odd man out. You're going to do what? What are you going to do? You're going to shut up? You're going to be quiet? So the cancel culture is a manifestation of that. It was happening just recently. What I would like to, help you understand is that's shifting now. Why is it shifting? Because the only way it can work is if people respond to it in the way that is desired by the people doing it. So we want you to shut up. We want you not to say anything. We want you to be afraid. And heaven forbid, don't stand out. Okay? The only thing that evil needs to triumph is that good men and women do nothing. Stay silent, back up, get in the corner, be afraid. And if you dare speak out, we're going to cancel you. What does canceling mean? I mean, it got really bad for a while. It's shifting now. And it's only shifting because people like you and I have decided we're not going to shut up. We're going to do the opposite. You want to know what spiritual warfare 101 is? Find out what the enemy wants you to do and do the exact opposite thing. So we're seeing people like Jason Aldean. I forget the name of the guy who, pretty not very well known, at least in my circles, who came out with the Target. So I remember Target was like, the corporate heads were just like radically vomiting out filth and pushing this narrative that, make people who were like, you know what, I was okay with a little bit of this, but now you've gone overboard. And they push back. And this guy writes a song about Target and how they're coming for your kids. And it shoots to the #1 song. Whoa, how can that be? Because according to what we're, putting out in front of everybody believes this is okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think Donald Trump was a great example. Whether you like the guy or don't like him, here's the facts. He became president. They were shocked. You see, there's an arrogance that comes with this that says we're in control. Okay? And the higher ups, the global elites, whatever you want to call them, there are power brokers in the world. This will become more and more known. Okay, it's not a Pharisee. Is it a conspiracy? Yep, it is. Is it a theory? Nope, it's not. Okay. Our guys above us told us that we were in control and everybody, and there's no way, Donald Trump is going to win, and there's no way that a song that can go to #1 that is the opposite of our narrative, yeah. So again, I want to emphasize, Silence is deadly. Silence is how they control. Okay, you have to stand up for what's right. I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about even being an arrogant, just foaming at the mouth, because some people do that. The only way they think they can win is to bring mockery. They start mocking people, and you've heard my opinion before about this. I don't like mockery. Sometimes I do have to put in something that has some of that. I think I have one today, but I don't like it. I don't think it's necessary. All right. So Jason Aldean wrote a song that has touched a nerve. Sometimes people in these platforms, listen close now, sometimes people in these platforms will say something and have the courage to say, you know what, I don't care if I'm canceled. Okay? Canceled means you lose your job, you lose your friends, the people that you are working with cancel you. And in Jason's case, it is the CMT, the country music. I forget what the T stands for, but they're the big guys. They're the country music guys. Okay, if you're doing country music, blah blah blah. And he comes out with this song, and he touches a nerve, and he says, "Enough is enough." And I'm actually going to read you the lyrics to the song, and I put down the link to the song, and just in case you haven't heard it. And of course, what happens? Well, the woke crowd comes out and says it's racism, it's this, it's Donald Trump, and he is a Donald Trump fan. But basically what it's saying, he's giving voice for those who haven't yet done that or just starting or whatever. And he's saying, he's crying foul. Wait a minute. You remember the story about the king has no clothes? Okay. Supposed to have these invisible clothes. He's walking around naked and everyone's going, look at that garment, look at that garment. Just say what everybody's saying, prophesy what everyone's prophesying. Don't think for yourself. Don't go back to the Bible. Just come on. Don't go against the stream. And one little child who didn't care yet, didn't have fear, said, the king doesn't have any clothes on. And all of a sudden it broke something and everyone was like gasping. Oh, he told the truth. Okay. So Jason's song that they have attempted to cancel him on is called Try That in a Small Town. Let me read the lyrics. And again, there's a link so you can watch it. I recommend that you watch the video. He's pulled a bunch of footage. You see, we're very forgetful. We have very short memories. It's only been a couple years since some of the worst thing that's ever happened on this planet have happened. So he pulls a bunch of those things together in the video, and here's the words. Let me read the lyrics to you real quick. This will go fast. He says, sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk. Carjack an old lady. These are all things that have happened, okay? Sucker punch someone on the sidewalk. Carjack an old lady at a red light. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act like a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag, and then light it up, set it on fire. Yeah, you think you're tough. One of the biggest mysteries to me is that how people were so slow. Do you remember when the media, the one classic picture, there is a violent people burning and looting and hurting and in some cases killing one another. And here's this stupid, useful idiot standing there literally with the fire in the background. I guess he just lost his mind for a minute, declaring to the lemmings who are watching him that it's mostly a peaceful riot or it's mostly a peaceful protest. It's not. Okay? How do we lose our minds? How do we lose the ability to reason? Well, fear, whatever. Anyway, let me jump back to this. Then it goes into the chorus. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't try that in a small town. Then he goes on. He talks about gun control. Got a gun my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round them up. Well, that might blank. That blank might fly in the city. Good luck. But try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line and won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't try that in a small town. Full of good old boys, raised upright. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town, and so on and so on. And of course, people come up. Now, let me tell you, okay, there's some good old boy stuff that's not right. Okay, good old boy, racist. No. I don't care what you call yourself. If you're a racist, you better stop, because God will be against you, okay? People that want to, hey, they're just boys doing boy stuff. They're just going out and getting drunk and shooting up the town, and whatever. No. Bad behavior should not be rewarded, no matter what the title on somebody's name is. And those of you that watch this program, most of you are Christians, you're believers, as I am. You never have the right not to be like Jesus. It doesn't matter what your stand is. It doesn't matter what you are fighting against. You have to be like the Lord. So, I get that there was some outcry because of the way people process these words. But I'm pretty sure this man isn't saying, hey, let's go out and lynch people. Let's go out and be... And some people went so far as to say, oh, this is like the new KKK. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's not what they're saying at all. They're saying things have gotten so bad in the big city that even the cops who were supposed to protect and serve have pulled back. Not because the policemen don't want to do the right thing. I want to be clear on this too. I back the boys in blue, 100%. Most of them are good people. 90+% are good, decent people. There are corrupt cops. There are bad cops. They should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Abso-stinking-lutely. But most of them are not that way. They want to help people. They want to do good. But listen, okay? They're employees. Do you get that? They are employed by their city, okay? Or their state. The city council are their employers, and they decide what they can and cannot do. Say, well, they ought to just quit then. Well, come on now. Walk a mile in their shoes. Understand that that's their job, okay? They've got a pension. Some have been doing it for years. And actually, I do believe that's right. I believe if people ask you to do something, are you listening? On your job, that is immoral or unjust, you have an obligation to quit your job. Absolutely. Okay, what about my family? Well, you know what? God will provide another job for you. I know that's hard. I'm not saying that would be easy. You might go flipping burgers at McDonald's and dial down your lifestyle. I get that. But right is right. Right is still right. And if you have to turn a blind eye to injustice in order to keep your employment, you're in the wrong job. All right. And I back the blue. All right. So... yeah, there's a bunch of stuff out there about him. If you want to see it, you can find it easily. All right, so I got to pick it up here. Number 3, Common Sense American speaks out about self-protection. So this is in some city council somewhere. I think it's a big city. Here's a classic example of what Jason is singing about. Okay, big city, violence, and so the answer is, we're coming to get your guns. Just like you said, Grandpa gave me a gun. They tell me one day they're going to come from them. Good luck with that. Okay? So this is, in my opinion, okay, one of the best short articulations I've heard. It's like a 5-minute video, and only half of it is this man speaking. He's a very large black man, and he's like, okay, this guy's he's gonna bring it. And he gets up and he just lays it out. Okay? He basically says, why is it that you're going to punish me, the citizen who is a victim of these other people's crimes? They are unlawfully carrying a weapon. They are unlawfully using a weapon. And it really doesn't matter what the weapon is. Okay? He talks about this AK-47 or I think that may not be right. AR-15. AR-15 says it's basically a 22 that looks like a machine gun, but it's not a military gun, and you need to quit saying... You see, people will say whatever they want in order to win the argument. Okay? That's not truth. That's not morality. That's not ethical. But it doesn't matter, because the end, winning, justifies the means. In other words, all's fair in love and war. If my 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 end goal is to abolish weapons, take them out of the hands of citizens, then it's a just enough cause in some people's mind that whatever I have to do to win that battle, or whatever you want to call it, is acceptable. The end, winning the battle, taking away the guns, justifies the means, how I do it. All's fair in love and war. I'll do whatever I have to do. Even something immoral, even something unethical. Okay? So anyway, one of these days I'm going to learn how to play some of these videos and I'm going to show you some. But this one is really good. I believe this man says, and he starts out by saying, I don't have a script written out. I don't have one. But let me just tell you, shooting from the hip. And he brings it with clear common sense articulation about how you shouldn't punish the innocent, the person who is at risk because of the person who was unlawful. You ever wondered about that? How about one person doing something stupid or illegal kind of ruins it for everybody else? Because what do? We rush in, we go, we got to make a law about this so this will never happen again, and people get caught in the crossfire. Anyway, watch that one. Number 4. Here's another example of what Jason Aldean was singing about. Hi, Cheryl. God bless you. 83-year-old woman attacked by a radical. You know, most of the time, people who are, let's say, on the right, I don't always like using the labels because it puts everybody in the same category, because there literally are good people on both sides, people with good motives, okay? A lot of people who are on the left are leaving that identification because they say it's gone crazy. It is absolutely gone crazy. I can't be a part of it anymore. Democratic Party, leftist liberal ideas, call it what you will. Okay, I'm concerned not about a political party. I'm concerned about what's right and wrong, light and dark, moral and immoral. Nobody has total, you get what I'm saying. So, here's an example. 83-year-old woman attacked by a radical pro-abortionist. Okay? I don't care how you label the side you're on. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And I don't see a lot of, now there's been some bombings, there has been, and there's always some freakazoid out there that's willing to, again, the end justifies the means. People on the right have done that. Anti-abortionists, or pro-life, as they like to be called, which I am, there's been some of those, but the numbers are vastly smaller than on the left. There's much more aggression. And here's another example. And a woman, young lady, woman, whatever, who obviously is pro-abortion, comes up, an 83-year-old woman holding a sign that's saying, stop the crazy, this woman comes up and attacks her. Okay, now that one I think is just a read. You can read it. It's a short read. So why did I put that in? Because that's just one of hundreds of examples. You've seen the videos. People, Black Lives Matters, or pro-abortion, or pro-abortion, or any of a dozen kind of really liberal LGBTQ coming up and attacking people. I saw one video, maybe you've seen it too, a group of people, I think they were BLM or Antifa, come up to some elderly people sitting there on an outside restaurant and come up to them for no reason and start demanding that they agree with their position on BLM. And because they didn't, they attacked them. This is not a one-off thing. This has happened many, many times, and that's what Jason was singing about. We've had enough of this, okay? We're not a minority, we're a majority. And that group of people, of which I believe I am included, could go crazy too, all right? But we don't. We don't, and we won't. Number 5. Now, this is shifting a little bit, so here's the question I want to put to you. I'm titling this one, Outrageous, What Exactly Has Gone Wrong? Here's one I'd really like to watch. Now, I'm going to give a caveat to this. This is mockery. This is Gutfield, as some of you have watched him. or Guffield, I can't, yeah. He's one attempting to be a comedian. No disrespect to him, but actually I don't think he's very funny at all. And he does use a lot of mockery and off-colored jokes, okay? But what they present as far as a video format of this individual, oh gosh, I'm going to forget his name. That's why I write these down. Is it someone Britain? It's the picture I put on Facebook. So here's the guy. I should have wrote his name down. Somebody might be able to write it down for me. Is it Justin Britain? Or, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, you'll recognize him in the video. He's the guy that, he's trans. He dressed up like a girl, wears bright red lipstick. Okay. I'm going to shoot from the hip now. Crazy, 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 crazy. Oh yeah, crazy. Okay? What's gone wrong in our nation? Here's something you need to understand. When righteousness is ruling, the Bible says, the people rejoice. When iniquity, wickedness, darkness, stupidity, insanity rules, everybody grieves. And yet, we're going to show you on the media, everybody's not grieving. Everybody's happy about this. No, they're really not. Most of them, the corporate world, the business world, they're jumping on whatever bandwagon the media tells them to because they don't want to lose money. And then there's the people that are involved. We're going to talk in just a minute about the Sound of Freedom. Why in the world would anybody, the most sacred issue probably of all is the safety of our children. Why would anybody try to come against that? Well, either one, they're making money off it, off that profiteering in some way, or they are fearful to speak out, or they're actually involved with it. All right, so what has gone wrong? I'll get to that in a minute. Let me use the phrase trickle down. When those above do evil, it trickle. Come on, friend, listen. This is not rocket science. Read your Bible. You have in Israel and Judah, actually, let's just say Israel, two types of kings, okay? God pretty much just put them in two categories. So God does that too, okay? Just saying, okay? So-and-so reigned and did evil in the sight of the Lord. So-and-so reigned over Israel and did good in the sight of the Lord. Righteous, light, dark, evil, whatever. So he didn't say, well, it's all relative, and what's your truth and what's my truth? No. In the end, God separates everyone in two categories. Do you know that he does that? And he doesn't separate everybody as Democrat and Republican either, okay? Because there's going to be some crossover, believe it or not. Maybe not much, who knows? But here's what he does. He separates everyone, sheep and goat. You're a sheep, you're a goat. What does that mean? Sheep are the ones that are part of his flock. It's not that complicated. The goats are the ones that were not. Okay? So, what happens when leadership goes off the rails? The country. One of the things that you can read about. When someone, whether it was, I'm trying to think of their names. Yeah, anyway, when the bad ruler ruled, okay, the people tended to follow that because, like it or not, we tend to be lemmings sometimes, and we're fear and popularity and all that I just talked about in the beginning of the program. There's all kinds of reasons that we can philosophically go down that road as to why people do that. Let's just establish the idea that for the most part, as goes the leadership, so goes the nation. And yet we have Christians, I'm going to talk to my fellow brothers and sisters, and my fellow pastors, of which I have been for 40 years, would stand up in the pulpit and say, don't be involved in politics. We don't have anything to say about policy. A Christian should not vocalize about leadership of a country or a city or a state, or God forbid, be involved in the making of policy. So we pull back, we turn it over to whoever is willing to step up, and Satan, real entity, is willing to fill that void. Now, thank you, Jesus, that we're seeing a reversal of that. Okay? Yes, I said his name. I know that's going to offend some of you. All right, so what has gone wrong? Watch this. It's short. You don't have to watch the whole thing. But just look at this guy and go, why in the world would a sane individual put someone like that in charge of nuclear? It was nuclear waste, I think. Just, I don't know exactly what he did. But we're talking about a high position in the U.S. government. Well, it's pretty simple. It's not necessarily because they were qualified, but because they painted a picture of what we're trying to represent, our narrative to the country. So you want to know what's gone wrong with this nation? That's a huge component to it. Number 6. Anybody know who Tulsi Gabbard is? Wonderful, wonderful. I believe that God has raised up a number of women in our culture, at least on the right, who could very well lead the country. Okay, I'm not going to go down that road right now, but this is, and I have this in parentheses, short. Those of you who have seen any kind of YouTube, or actually almost everybody's doing it right now except for me, which, bad boy, they do shorts, okay? They take a little clip out of an interview or out of a longer message or video or whatever, and they call that a short, okay? And you can see them on there, the shorts, and they usually last anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. So Tulsi in this little short is asked the question by actually the same guy, Gutfield, are things equal in Washington? And Tulsi, who is extremely articulate, and again, one I believe could run this country in righteousness, okay? I don't use that word loosely. And she says, oh no, things are not equal. And what's being done right now, we put people in jail for what we're letting people get away with right now. That has got to come to a head. Corruption increases. Think of mold. Think of rust. Okay, corruption, you put, I don't know, a piece of meat or a piece of metal, whatever, the longer it goes, it grows. It's living. It's alive. This cannot go on forever. And thank God, enough people, some of this just has to do with people standing up and saying, no, I'm not okay with this. You can't have my kids. You can't have, you know what I'm saying? Willing to stand up and say what is right. The only thing that evil needs to triumph is that good people do nothing. To be silent, Dietrich Bonhoeffer in Nazi Germany, a whole nation did this one time. Are we not aware of that? Jesus help us. Are we not aware of the fact that an entire nation of most, civilized, mostly religious, I won't say Christian, but religious people, a whole nation followed the dictates of a demon-possessed madman who was slaughtering people, and some of them didn't know, but mostly because they were afraid to speak up. That cannot ever happen again. So Tulsi said this. Number 7, another short. I believe this is Joe Rogan, another guy, most popular podcast in the world, I think, right now. Extreme potty mouth. He hardly says 10 words before he cusses again. I don't think he did in this one, but again, my caveat to all these links is, I'm not responsible for their language and for their attitude. I want to know what is truth. And sometimes truth hits you hard in the face, whatever. Anyway, this is another short one. He's basically talking about why it is that people can't receive truth because of the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? You need to look past that. Number 8. This is a young lady who was testifying. This is like a must-watch, in my opinion, because this young lady was a journalist for a left organization that's left-leaning, and she come out with some stuff. Again, there are a few honest journalists around that still are concerned about actually telling the truth. She did that. She was shut down. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. You need to watch that one. It's really, really good. Number 8. Number 9. Okay, here's one I want to give a caveat to. When there's something graphic, I try to remember to put the word graphic in there. This is about Hunter Biden. Why am I putting this in with all of the rest, the Jason Aldean and all this? Because these are the things that he is singing about. It's not about race. Come on, quit playing the race card. I understand that race issues are still very huge. Okay, there's still a lot, and I actually believe some of the attempts to stop that are actually making it worse. Which, you know, we do that. We sometimes we're dumb. Anyway, still needs to be addressed. I want to be clear on that. But okay, let me jump to this. Number 9, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know a lot of you just think that woman is insane. I'll tell you what, she's radical, and she speaks her mind, and she probably goes overboard sometimes. But you know, in a culture that has become so desensitized, we need some Marjorie Taylor Greenes. We need some Jason Aldeans. We need some people who will get up in your grill and face off with you and say, you must look at this. You can't, because we don't want to look at it. Okay? Again, sound of freedom. You must look at this. I cannot tell you how many Christians I know and unbelievers who like, oh, I can't go watch that. I just can't. It's just going to be too much for me. You know what? Your feelings are not as important as you knowing the truth. Okay? Just going to leave that right there. I know that sounds harsh, but again, in a culture where we have become desensitized, and don't think you haven't been just because you're a Christian. Christians get just as desensitized. All right, anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene shows this video, or showing some pictures that most of you have never seen. Now, they are shaded out, okay? They are blocked out. They're nudity, okay? They are nudity. And I am not a guy that does nudity, okay? Went to a movie the other day, had to walk out. Okay, that's all I'll say. But they are blocked out. And yet they are extremely offensive. The point of this is how, okay, just beyond the pictures. You know, it's kind of like abortion. People get so desensitized to it and become such a non-issue that those who are trying to stop it feel compelled to bring out these horrifying images of babies that have been butchered. Why? Because we've become insensitized to it, and it's just some kind of medical procedure. No, it's not. It's murder. It is murder. Okay? And even saying that, people are like, oh, Jim, that's just so harsh. No, that's what it is. And until you see it for what it is, you're going to keep thinking that it's not that big of a deal. So Marjorie brings out the pictures of Hunter engaged with prostitutes, writing off his engagement with those prostitutes as a tax. This guy, the real question about this is not his addiction, because I know some of you have heard this stuff, crack addict, prostitute, you know. Most of the right has focused now on the illegalities. Was he in bed with his father, you know, making money, side deals with China and all that. I get that. And that is the legal issue that the right has seized upon in order to win. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I think that should be brought out. I think that should be hammered on. If somebody in a high position breaks the law, you know, and this is what Tulsi was saying, they should go to jail for it. As a matter of fact, they should be held to a higher standard. Now, why did she bring the pictures out? And what is my main point in this? I want to go to the most fundamental point of the Hunter Biden saga and not go really deep, but just say it plainly. It is, how did our leadership think this was okay? How did we get to the place where a guy like this can be in the halls, the sacred halls of our government, and get away with this stuff? How? And still get away. Not held responsible. You know, I remember Bill Clinton caught doing an immoral act. I mean, that was it. It was like there was at least a level of morality at that time where people were like, on both sides of the aisle, were like, no, okay, you crossed the line. Nobody crosses the line anymore. Doesn't really matter what you do. How did we get so far down the road? Well, all it takes is a few people deciding that immorality is non-consequential, and frankly, we can get away with it. So, you know, God forbid, let's just think about ourselves for a minute. What would it be like if there were no consequences to your own personal behavior? I'm talking to you who watch this video right now. Ask yourself this question. I know some of you won't believe this, but I actually had the Lord come to me one day and say, Jim, what would it be like if you could do anything you wanted and get away with it? And I had to really ask myself, oh my gosh, would I do the right thing just because it's the right thing? Listen, there are lots of people in the world, if they could, there's a movie came out recently, and I got to stop now, called Purge. I didn't watch it. I don't watch those movies, but the premise I understood was the way to keep people doing right is to give them 1 or 2, 3, whatever nights once a year where they get all of the evil out of them by doing whatever they want. And almost everybody does whatever they want. They kill, they rape, they whatever. That is a doctrine of demons. Okay. All right. So that's number 9. Again, it's graphic, but it's not pornographic. So there you go. My wife told me you probably shouldn't put that one on there, and she may be right. But again, you need to see this is way beyond not okay. We put people in jail for these things, except our governmental leaders, and that does have a trickle-down effect. So one more thing about that. So there's a picture that came out, I think just yesterday, a picture of Hunter Biden's lawyer out on a balcony of some building, I'm not sure which building it was, taking bong hits. Well, why not? Because weed's legal, right? Oh, yeah, weed's legal. So here again, the lawyer of the crack addict, the prostitute visitor, the China deal broker, Hunter Biden, his own lawyer, the guy that should be above reproach, is out there taking bong hits. Just look at the picture. It's just, stuff is just unbelievable. And then number 11 is a short overview of some of these issues. Okay, and I got to be done. Again, I put there some stuff on Tim Ballard. Again, this idea that why would, now they're pulling back a little bit now, the media, and when I say the media, I'm talking most, because there is a whole another genre of the media that has risen up because of the attempt to silence, to restrict, to deplatform. There's a whole nother genre, and this is right for this to happen. We call them citizen journalists and all these different other outlets. It's not ABC, NBC, CBS, NBC, and CNN. It's not the alphabet media. It's not the legacy, the one your mom and dad watch, Walter Cronkite. It's not those guys. If you're still watching those guys and getting your main information from them, stop being so foolish. I'm telling you right now, that's foolish. Don't do it. All right? There's plenty. I believe God himself has allowed these other ones to be raised up so that we can know the truth, because he is about truth, and you ought to be also. Doesn't mean you don't discern. You have to discern. Just because somebody claims to be telling you the truth, and there are things that people are guessing about. You want to know facts. Okay? That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. All right, so they're trying to shut down. They're trying to say it's QAnon. They're trying to say blah, 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 blah about Sound of Freedom. You know what? It is actually having the opposite effect. More people are going. I think they just crossed, as of last night, the 130 million mark. These are a couple quick things you can watch, a couple of videos. So you do know that global ID system is fast approaching. I believe it could be as little as a couple months, and they'll try to implement this. The UK, there's a group, I forget their name, but it's an iris scan. It's this group that is saying, everybody's got to do this. They say this is coming whether you like it or not. You must comply. Look at that one. And then there's some about our government, mutilation. Okay. There's one video in here where a lady by the name of, and this is a lady you ought to be listening to frequently. Okay. Her name is Kat. I forget her name. Linda Etherton, if you come on this, you can write her name in there. Kat, someone, I forgot to put her name down. Kamek, is that right? Anyway, representative in our country, right there, congresswoman, something of that nature. She tries to show a video to in a congressional session about the guy from Portland actually telling the truth. And he's a trans guy, and he actually is very pro, trans surgery and all that. They don't even want to watch the video. They actually get up and walk out because they don't want to watch the video. All right, that's all I can do right now. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening today. If you're just tuning into this late, please go back and watch the beginning. And if this helps you in any way, informs you in any way, go back and watch the links, okay? Don't just take my word for it. Be responsible. Do your own investigation. So may the Lord bless you all. God bless you, and give yourself permission to have a great day.